Greetings and salutations, fellow Harlemites. We're back to cover the third of Marvel's Netflix series, this time featuring a beloved fan favorite that we met in Jessica Jones. That's right, it's the original Hero for Hire. Join us as we delve into the honorable show and character as we begin unlocking Luke Cage.
You know, Power Man.
That's right, BlueDragonFive. How are you tonight?
I'm well.
Good, good. Well, we've only got a scant couple days left until the Defenders. The hype is in the air, and I'm even taking the time to go through Iron Fist, begrudgingly, but I'm doing it. I'm plugging through it. So, Dragon, we're here to talk about, of course, the penultimate episode of Luke Cage. This is called Soliloquy of Chaos, which might be my favorite title of the season. That's just a really catchy, eye-grabbing title.
It's a solid title.
Alrighty, Dragon. So, I guess no time to waste on this one. There's a lot of parlays. There's a lot of characters involved. There's a lot of rich plot thickness to go through. And speaking of that plot, let's get right into it with said plot.
All right, folks, here's the plot in a nutshell. Luke escapes custody and basically is a fugitive on the run, working to stop Diamondback and clear his name. Pretty much same old with Luke, but in this case he is freshly escaped, being captured by the police task force with the Judas Bullets 2.0, thanks to Mariah Dillard. Harlem is showing its support as Domingo is plotting his revenge on Diamondback in the meantime. Basically everyone's showing Luke Cage support in really awesome sequences, which we're gonna boil down and get into.
Oh yeah.
Let's see. Shades survives a double cross. That's kind of what Shades is doing in this episode, surviving a double cross and kind of being kind of the master planner we know him to be.
Can I just say, for the record, I've officially been completely won over by Shades.
Yeah?
In this episode. Yeah, in this episode on the rewatch, I'm like, all right, this guy's awesome.
I thought you liked him before that, too.
I liked him before that, yes. But I mean, here's the thing. I didn't really care for him on my first viewing. And then on my second viewing, I kind of gradually warmed up to him to the point where this episode, he kind of peaked for me, right? He's like, oh, all right, this is like Shades Prime right here, man. Anyways, go ahead.
So Shades survives a double cross, and along with Mariah Dillard, they try to parlay with Luke, and in the end, it all boils down to a chaotic argument interrupted by an armored Diamondback.
Oh boy, he's ready to play.
Oh yeah, that's the episode in a nutshell, folks.
Let's just see how snake-like I can be, Carl.
God.
All right, let's move on to Power Man's Plight.
Boy, does he have... Folks, if we ever had a reason for calling this segment Power Man's Plight, this episode is very much the reason.
It's interesting, Dragon. I kind of love the way that Luke's scenes are structured throughout the episode, because I love how a lot of the episode is focused on the public's perception of Luke Cage as opposed to seeing Luke himself. I mean, he is present in the episode, but he's not really the main central character. You know what I mean? Yeah,
man. Luke is used sparingly because Harlem is the focus, and it's Harlem. Exactly what you said. It's Harlem's perception of Luke, and I love that we're that far at this point in the series. Kind of the penultimate episode. We're at a point where we can get away with that because we've built up so many great Luke Cage episodes, and we've spent episodes like episode 5, the funeral episode, where we see Luke going around town making a name for himself and getting the support of Harlem, and all of that pays off this episode and the next one especially, but this one too.
So this episode has a very economic use of screen time that Luke is given. Of course, we see him breaking out at the beginning, which, we kind of figured that was going to happen, but it was fun to see it put into action.
I mean, Luke has Harlem in his corner for this frame.
Yeah. Of course, one of my favorite moments, Dragon, again, a runner-up for my Sweet Christmas moment, is the one between him and the cop, where the cop's just like, look, you don't remember me, do you? I was, I had Pop cut my hair for 12 years,
Look, It goes a little something like this. Really good scene.
Yeah.
Young cops always want to chase something. I'd rather be where they're already going. They told us these Judas bullets can kill someone like you. You don't want to die? don't recognize me. I've seen your pops before. Pop cut my hair for 12 years. He didn't think he was a hero either. He was just trying to do some right after years of wrong. I hope I'm right about you. More people rooting for you than you think. What are you going to tell your people? The truth? I had you in my sights, but you outran me. I'm getting old. Luke, you better catch that slippery son of a bitch.
Really good scene, really good scene. Now, what I really love about it, a few things to unpack with it, is that one, we've had this scene in a few Netflix shows where we've had the cop and our heroes, and I like that it still has not repeated itself with the interactions we've gotten from
It's
that.
kind of like an army of Gordons.
Yeah, it's kind of like, we have the Sons of Batman, Dark Knight turns
right.
The Sons of Gordon.
So, of course, we have Mahoney and Daredevil.
Yep, we have Clements and Jessica Jones.
Yes.
And here we're just gonna have our officer here. And something really something to also take into account here, because the big thing of Paraman's plight that we got to really hit here in the last one, because we have a lot of payoffs coming in these next two. And this one, the last one. Tracking Luke's reluctant hero arc, and we really get a really great glimpse of that in this scene, because Luke still is not seeing himself as a hero, but so many see him as kind of this wholesome folk hero of Harlem.
Yeah, right. To him, he is just still like the fugitive running from the cops, like getting people killed just by being around him. You know what I mean? Like, he's got a very low opinion of himself. And I think something to do with that, Dragon, is just the triggering effect of being put in police custody, no matter how for a short, long amount of time it would be. Like, that's just a really deep-rooted thing with him.
But what a lot of this stuff is, it's really a good confidence booster for Luke that really will pay off in the kind of the payoff of this reluctant hero stuff coming up. And with that too, it's like Luke's going on the fugitive thing yet again, but this time he has people in his corner, which he did not have the first time around. So again, Luke's filled with confidence that will get him to the point of admitting, yeah, I'm a hero. Much as I've denied, I am a hero.
For sure.
So this episode goes like a long way in that arc. Speaking of kind of the sons of Gordon, we also have the daughters of Gordon with Misty, with this great scene with Misty and Luke, where in kind of how they've grown. You see that we literally have a full-on Batman Gordon scene. Before, we just had something we could read into as a Batman Gordon scene. This absolutely is a Batman Gordon scene. Well, let me play it for you. Back a little.
Should I thank you for this?
All credit goes to Donovan.
I don't suppose we'll find his puppy. We found Zips, though, with two other thugs in an old building. Shot up right after they picked up the other.
Shades. Don't you ever get tired of people getting out?
Yes. Look, it's not safe for you to be here. If you don't find Diamond back,
Then he wins. My life is forever living now.
is there anything I can do?
See what else Turk knows. It's in a dumpster in an alley on 123rd. Near Mount Olivet shop.
A dumpster.
I mean, he even has a bad exit, folks. Again, unfortunately, Murdoch Vision does not exactly lend to that, but yeah, take my word for it. He has a bad exit, and it's great. It's again, just we're showing how far Luke's going to come. And again, in the reluctant hero arc, where he's a hero in everything but self-admitting it.
For sure.
And again, even Misty is in his corner so much, like she orchestrated the breakout. She and Claire orchestrated it. So I mean, she's firmly she knows Luke's innocent. We got to prove that. So it's really.
I think just in terms of just the arc, it's all about kind of how the city has grown to accept Luke, and it's almost kind of Spider-Man-esque. You know what I mean? Where there are some opposing forces to Spider-Man, much like Luke, who sort of, kind of are trying to paint him as a public menace. But, of course, we get the whole, like, you mess with Spider-Man, you mess with New York. And I think we have that same sort of deal here with Luke Cage, like the whole, like, you mess with Luke Cage, you mess with Harlem.
Yeah. I guess two brief points to hit to just, like, kind of show how kind of Luke stands out above the rest here is that Luke, in his pursuit of Diamondback, I mean, I'm getting to the ending of like kind of the episode with Luke's arc here, but in general, just him going after Diamondback ever since he revealed himself onward. Traditionally in a superhero show, what we would have is the deeply personal foe from a Joker-esque figure, or like you want to go by the Arrow standards, Deathstroke. That deeply personal guy who's really it's just really mean to you. He shows up, and the hero's like working like the Dickens to get the bad guy, or like just look at Daredevil season 1. As far as Matt's going after Fisk. Our heroes have a tendency to kind of weigh the big moral questions, like should I kill him? Like they're losing sight of what makes him a hero along the way. They have that debate going on. Luke does not have that. Luke knows Luke doesn't risk going dark. He doesn't have to have that fear. It doesn't have to have that question. Not for a moment does he consider killing Diamondback or anything. He's just it shows you like it's such a great new flavor of hero arc we can have.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely certain individual shades with that. Of course, there is sort of Luke knows the system, right? And he knows that if he kills Diamondback, that is just not going to play well with him, and he doesn't want to be a man on a run. And then, of course, you've got the personal thing with Diamondback. There is a connection that goes, yeah. So, multiple things at play there.
Luke gets testy with Shades and Mariah because they framed him and he's not happy about that. But again, like that's the closest he gets to crossing the line. But again, Luke, he's very in the right. He's very zen about it, as always. And just by the end of the episode, of course, he finally has a chance to face off. And I love this. We've been building the rematch between Diamondback and Luke because they fought each other in episode 8, and they haven't fought each other mano a mano. Since that episode. I mean, the closest they had was basically Diamondback teasing him, making his escape, saying, "Hey, save Candace, get arrested. Your choice."
Right.
Again,
right.
He saw him in the previous episode. He taunted the crap out of him, and now he's finally has his chance for the big rematch, and it's going to be mano a mano, no guns. So it's going to be actually kind of like.
And I got my power gloves, Carl. They're so bad.
Yeah, going for the hands-on approach. It's really
Oh yeah.
Okay.
All right, I guess let's transition into the characters that make Harlem's finest, the finest. Deconstructing Harlem. Who we starting with, Dragon?
Yes, we're starting with Diamondback.
Oh boy, I'm totally the representative of Harlem. No one is more Harlem than Diamondback. Diamondback's just so fun.
Yeah. So Diamondback, it's interesting. He's already issued the challenge to, he's already issued his challenge to Luke by ruining his good name with the frame up. Of course, that frame up being this.
Oh, just for old time's sake, right?
And I mean, he's already issued the challenge, so now he's just waiting for Luke to show himself. Diamondback is so sure of himself that he's turned Harlem against Luke, and I love that as the cosmic joke of Diamondback's revenge, that he thinks he's turning Harlem against Luke with this frame, but in reality, as we see in this episode, Harlem is absolutely on Luke's side.
And really, with Diamondback basically weaponizing the police against Luke, that's another smart bit of social commentary this show gets out. It's like, okay, if the police are against Luke for something that he clearly didn't do, that's just not going to play well if you're trying to make people against him. And like I said, I just think this show just very smartly kind of represents, kind of the real world tension. Of course, we'll get to that way more when we get to the final episode, especially in those last 20 minutes or so. But I'm sorry, go ahead. That was a bit of a tangent. Go ahead.
Let's see. So with Diamondback in this episode, where he kind of factors into Harlem. Again, Diamondback, as we established, he doesn't really care about Harlem. Harlem to him is a way of floating his cash. Basically, he sells his weapons to Harlem. They're business clients, nothing more. And the only reason he has such an interest in Harlem, being there himself, is to get Carl. And in doing so, he's like in this episode, we see Harlem just this plain doesn't like Diamondback. Hence, Domingo going after him, and he's eliminating the competition and fueling the fire on Luke. He's just saying, well, again, it's just his craziness is like, well, I'm just gonna kill Randy because I want to, and I might as well just frame Luke while I'm at it. It's just to the point of I'm just gonna I'm just going to fuel the fires to kind of get the show Luke. So again, he's justifying his madness just enough to make sense and not look like a crazy man.
You know, an interesting thing about Diamondback is one of the elements of the show that doesn't get brought up a lot, but is a part of it, is the Western genre. And I feel like Diamondback very much is kind of like the outlaw who blows into town with a personal vendetta against the man in the white hat, you know what I mean? And just kind of like throws the town into chaos for his own personal means. And I think that's where a lot of the Western angles of Luke Cage come from.
Yeah, yeah. And again, what we've been building to a Diamondback, and just to address it here, like kind of the grand reason people have been kind of criticizing, you know, the second half, saying it doesn't measure up to the first half, which Tiki and Icon Rio are kind of contesting a little bit here and there. You look at it with the main complaint with Diamondback is that he goes too over the top. You know, he's basically he's more obvious than you had with Cottonmouth, and the thing Tiki and I've kind of thrown is that, you know, he's a comic book villain. It's kind of the fan service
kind of character. It's a totally different kind of character from Cottonmouth,
which is not a bad thing. But also, to add to it, I mean, there's a reason for why people would say, you know, it seems like Diamondback, and the criticism people have thrown out, which I'll defend here, is that Diamondback's plan basically makes it more convoluted as it goes on. My defense for that, I think it's pretty simple, as we've kind of been breaking down, especially in the last episode. Diamondback, he's losing his mind. That's why it's getting a little more. He's just excusing his random destruction and giving it a reason, and that's the thing.
You know, Dragon, I mean, I would say that was just kind of speculation on your end, except the whole Shade subplot last episode was like just more or less a big sort of magnifying glass on that situation. You know, they clearly brought it into focus.
Exactly. I mean, it makes sense, though. I mean, you know, he's becoming completely deluded. I mean, he's just convinced, and he has tunnel vision for, okay, Harlem's gonna hate Luke. I'm not worried about the consequences. Harlem's gonna hate Luke.
Right.
I'll just eliminate the competition if they try to rise up against me, which they do. And we see Diamondback, because of his business skills are flawed because of this. Again, he's mixing personal with business, which is something you never want to do. In doing so, his former business associates are turning against him, like Domingo. And we get Diamondback, interestingly, backed into a corner, which he can easily get out of, but he is backed into a corner like this.
You know when a rattlesnake is at its most dangerous, Domingo? When it's cornered.
But in all seriousness, I think that line about the rattlesnake really does hold a lot of truth of what's happening with Diamondback. Again, he's back into a corner, and he is about to get at his most. Yeah. Basically, the more back into a corner, Diamondback's getting less and less subtle, less kind of like building the mystery of, like, you know, the big reveal of Diamondback. Now we're just in the full force of, oh my God, there's a poisonous, dangerous snake in the area. We got to, you know, head for the hills, like get the high ground, like avoid this guy.
In a way, Diamondback is almost kind of like a deconstruction of a Wilson Fisk type villain who's less successful than Fisk.
Yeah, I mean, he's all basically I think that's an excellent comparison. He is like Wilson Fisk if you just had, you know, just like all car door moments. Right,
exactly, yeah.
You know, he's all, you embarrassed me in front of her. That's all he is. And of course, we do get some good Diamondback lines again, just like the more dangerous and psychotic he is getting with, like, you know, when he basically unveils the suit, which again, I think the suit is definitely a reflection.
I really like the suit, by the way. I really like that design.
As do I. And we'll get more on the suit, in a second, but especially in the next episode.
Of course.
Basically, I think the suit is a representation of Diamondback just refusing to lose to Luke, so he's going to even the playing field in the most on the nose way. And basically, I'm gonna basically do every single thing in my power to measure up to Luke, which means I'm going to outfit I'm as far technologically as I can get. I'm going to measure up to Luke, even if it could kill me. Again, you don't know how dangerous that suit is. It's untested, possibly. You know.
Right.
Like I love the build to the suit, though. I love how we build the reveal where he opens the crate and he says this.
Behold a pale horse, and he that sat upon him, his name was Death.
Like, boy, oh boy. I mean,
it's like something out of Indiana Jones, right?
Yeah. And generally,
also, you know, he kind of teases he teases it earlier when a character asks, "What's in the box?" And he's like, "One of the 7 deadly sins." And then Brad Pitt, because Dragon, Brad Pitt has a reason to be here, okay? Because he's tracking the 7 deadly sins killer, and he's like, Did someone say anything about boxes? What's in the box? You know, like Diamondback's like, it's one of the 7 deadly sins, Brad Pitt. It's one of the 7 deadly sins. Are you John Doe? Are you him? What's in the box? All right, I'm done.
You know, wearing this suit again off screen. Again, I love the build to it. Just, you know, his general plan on Diamondback is psychotic, and he's just kind of using it. Again, Lucas is kind of connecting his only tie to sanity here, where he's just basically. That's pretty much his modus operandi. He's going to murderize everything until he gets to the big ending reveal, which is, of course, is when he emerges at the end. It's really kind of a grandiose, awesome reveal here when we see him head to toe in the suit, which we'll break down in a second here.
Oh yeah.
You know I'm gonna kill them all later, right? You have to get past me first. Oh, I don't go past. I go through.
So I mean, he's in this kinetic hammer tech suit. That's what it is. It's a kinetic suit. Basically, it absorbs anything Luke throws at it, and that powers the suit, which I think is a really cool idea. Looking into it, which again, we'll kind of see how that pays off more later. But what's so great about that line, just basically after well, we're gonna get a little bit more into like kind of a little bit more of that later on here, but. It's really great that, you know, like we end the episode on a note of you know, Luke's gonna have to face off against his past, and the past wants to cut through Luke essentially. Like they both want to move on, but for him to move on, he has to kill Luke. For the other one to move on, he has to beat his brother. But the fact is, like, you know, the past, like Luke's past now measuring up to is very reflective of himself.
And then, of course, as we're going to go into the next episode, Luke's past is very much going to be in full focus with Diamondback. Yeah. So sort of setting stuff up there.
Just cool. Like, you know, he will destroy. You know, like, he'll destroy Harlem if it means, you know, he gets Luke Cage, even if, you know, he's going to become Luke Cage in the process. Like he'll become what he hates most, so long as he can, you know, defeat what he hates most.
All right. Well, let's bring it up for the special guest star of the episode, Mr. Turk Barrett. Come on down.
Oh, the lovely Turk Barrett. I love his introduction. Yeah. Where he has a gag here where he's trying to take the money. Trying to take some of Diamondback's money. Goes something like this.
I wouldn't touch any of that. People don't test me more than once. I overstand.
Yeah, I mean, you know, one thing about Turk Barrett, he is a professional. He does know his boundaries, you know. He's quirky, he's funny, he has good one-liners, but he is kind of a consummate professional at the end of the day.
Yes, he is. I mean, you know, he's an opportunist. He's an opportunist criminal. I love we get some really good dimension with Turk here. We've got a lot of great dimension with Turk in the Luke Cage series. Honestly, yeah, he appeared at the very beginning of the season and towards the very end of the season here.
Right.
And we never wasted Turk, because Turk, of course, leads to 2 very important moments. Honestly, it's kind of like the second episode and then the second to last episode he appears. So it's very calculated how we're using Turk.
Yeah, it's a good sort of bookend with the you know, with the Turk Barrett character, storytelling wise.
Exactly. This is a guy who's bred from the older generation of crime here, where, you know, it's the simplicity of crime. You know, he's the intermediary. He's essentially a freelancer who wears many hats. We've seen him. I've also speculated in terms of like where we could go with Turk Barrett in the MCU. Very simply, just, you know, he's an arms dealer. We saw in Daredevil. You know, he's definitely interested in theft. You know, I would say going forward is probably going to be a fence. You know, just the guy who, like, he'll you know, getting at, he doesn't do guns entirely, but obviously his experience with guns and selling guns as the intermediary definitely plays into what Diamondback's plan is to make his money back. Which, again, I like that he has we're using Turk for a very practical reason, aside from, hey, it's Turk Barrett.
Everyone loves Turk Barrett.
They do.
I'm like the gangster Claire in the Netflix universe. I'm Turk Barrett, baby.
The shame we can't officially work him into the other 2 seasons. I want Defenders to end on. I want Defenders to end on Turk Barrett being. Basically, I wanted to do that shot where Loki sees all the Avengers in front of him.
Oh God!
I want it to be like Turk's in the middle, because we started Daredevil on that. We started Daredevil on Turk being foiled. What if we ended Defenders on you know, Turk being with basically Turk in the middle of some lascivious activity, and then basically he's foiled by all four of them. And he just says, "I give up, darn it! I give up." He sees all of them because he's sick and tired of these super people. He sees all four of them. Okay, I give up.
So speaking of being frustrated, I mean, that's exactly what his role is this episode. Like, he's just sort of caught between a rock and a hard place, right? Because, you know, it's almost kind of like a Breaking Bad-ish situation, almost a Tuco-style situation where Diamondback is just a great client to have in terms of, like, he's going to give you a lot of business. Like, he's going to buy in bulk. But at the same time, obviously, he's an erratic and hard-to-deal-with individual.
Yeah, I mean, this is a guy who just touts the simple rules, you know, to keep the job simple and not personal, which is in very much direct contrast to Diamondback and his way of doing things.
Sure.
And I love this detail we do get with Turk, which we'll highlight here 1 second here, is that I love that Turk doesn't kiss up to power.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
You know, Turk does have his principles, even though again he's a very street level criminal. You know, he's very much like, again, he'd sell his own mother for something, but at the same time he does have principles.
And he does know his place too, right? You know, like he knows where to speak and where not to speak. So he's smart about that.
Exactly. You know, he weeps for essentially, again, he had respect for the older way, the simpler way of doing things. Where, you know, he weeps for the crime bosses for the new crime bosses of Harlem, where he sees, like, you know, how low his Zip is stooping to be the new shades, literally wearing shades, which is pretty funny. But essentially, the scene between him and Zip goes a little something like this.
I'm gonna have an opening. You gonna step up? I'm down to do whatever you need. No problem. Good boy. So are you down? I'm down. As long as the business is business, I'm good with it. Till then, I'm out of here, man. Sure, Turk out, Zip. Romeo, roll over this grave where you cops get these kids nowadays. There's a man on these streets, boy. What the hell are you talking about? Down here is fucking same as me. I'm doing business with him, yes. But I ain't his boy. I definitely hate his itch.
All right. So, I mean, yeah, again, I like that Turk does kind of illuminate in kind of the state of Harlem, and he kind of ushers in kind of this, it's like we're planting the seed that we're going to see pay off in the end. That again, we're kind of ushering into the new Harlem Renaissance, let's say. And that new Harlem Renaissance has a dark connotation to it, that, you know, the Mariah's kind of criminal thing is kind of being built up, and it's kind of like the generation that what gets us there. Like, we have these, you know, the over-the-top Diamondback variety of criminal. We have, you know, we have kind of we have the
Judas bullets being unleashed on the streets on a street level.
Exactly. You know, all these twists and turns instead of just kind of simplicity of, you know, no one talks and you get the jail, a lawyer will be sent for it. Kind of very bare bones business.
Sure.
All right. Speaking of which, let's another reflection of old school Harlem.
Oh boy, he's finally returned. The great Fish, not Fish Mooney.
And not Bobby Fish, but not Bobby Fischer.
No, not Bobby Fischer. No, just Bobby Fish.
We like Bobby Fish. We really do.
Yeah, we do.
And I like that, again, like kind of the opponent of Turk Barrett is Bobby Fish, who's always far smarter.
Here's what I like about Fish in the context of this episode. The penultimate episode in a lot of these shows is always about kind of putting the chess pieces into place for the, you know, inevitable clash that's going to take place in the finale. And that's exactly what Fish visually does for us when Luke goes to him. And of course, he's a natural person for Luke to turn to in a time of need, of course. You know, and I like how he plays it cool in the eyes of authority and whatnot. You know, he and Luke have a very sort of good system going on for the cop raids and whatnot.
Yeah, you're right. You know, we have this thing where I'm pretty sure in the one of the Sweet Christmas scenes, the person he's calling is Fish. I'm pretty sure is Bobby. So basically, you know, they can arrange this whole, like, he'll show up so just he can avoid the cops, but still kind of lay low at the barbershop. Now, of course, with Bobby is that, you know, he represents all sides of Harlem, kind of like Pop did in a way, where, you know, he plays chess with criminals like Turk Barrett, and at the same time, it's in the barbershop, which is Switzerland, so it's all cool.
Sure. And it's like this is one of the things like honestly, Dragon. I was thinking about this, and well, I do agree that I do really like the back half of season 1 of Luke Cage a lot more than some people do. One of the things that's missing for me is that sense of Pops as Switzerland. Like I remember that just being such a captivating set piece in those first 7 episodes. You know what I mean?
Honestly, I see your point. Part of me thinks that might be intentional, though, Tiki.
It is intentional. I'm sure it's intentional because it kind of takes away the, basically it takes away the safe place. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm saying, like, again, going towards this new Harlem, we're going to get rid of Switzerland, which is a dangerous place to be in. I think it's kind of what's saying. We don't have the security. Like with the death of Cottonmouth, we have the disappearance of old Harlem of Switzerland. We don't have like kind of the landmarks like that. We're pushing forward in kind of dangerous new territory.
Sure, and I mean, like I said, I get the plot reason for it. It's just a bit of a presence from the show I kind of missed in the second half.
Yeah, I mean, I would have loved to see Bobby Fish more, but again, we had other stuff.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. I kind of wanted to see like a whole subplot of Bobby Fish kind of cleaning up the store, and kind of taking other young people in. I don't know.
That'd be cool. But
maybe season 2.
Sure, I'm sure he's going to be in season 2. I wonder if essentially they're saying they're kind of touting off like everyone's going to be in Defenders except the Kingpin. That's kind of what they've been saying going in. I think almost just the screw with me. Hey, everyone but the Kingpin's going to be
right.
No, of course, because they don't want Sigourney Weaver to be overshadowed.
Of course.
Let's see. Anything big to hit with? I love that with Bobby Fish, when we check back in with him, again, it's been a long while. I love that he has this one simple goal that we have established, with that really sweet little story with him and Luke. They're trying to fix up the barbershop, get it going again. It also kind of adds a sad punchline to it all, but we'll get to that more with the next episode. There's the fact that Bobby Fish has this one simple goal to maintain the barbershop, which is impossible in this new dangerous Harlem here, where basically Diamondback arrives, and Diamondback is not exactly a subtle guest.
No, not whatsoever.
And I love where Bobby Fish, in the middle of this dramatic ending to the episode, just gets so incensed with Diamondback. and Bobby Fish, we'll hit him more on this later. He's a lot of great one-liners. He's just really funny, too, at the same time. Again, he's warm, but he's also funny. Just here we go.
God damn it! I just fixed this place up all perfect and shit. Y'all can't take this outside. No. Just say it.
I love that it's in unison, though. I just love that.
No.
Okay, just checking. Like, oh, okay, you added 2 there, right?
2, yeah.
Very good.
Come on, Bobby. Come on. You're in the house of Pops now. Watch your mouth, son.
Yep.
Okay. So, do you want to get into the Shadesmeister?
One last thing on Bobby.
Okay.
One last thing is what he represents. Then we'll move on to Shades. Is that he? I think with the destruction of the barbershop, last thing is that it's like change can't be halted. I think as much as Bobby Fish will protest in that moment, like why do you got to destroy everything here? Is that this change can't be halted, but the history I think what they're trying to hint at thematically is that the history will endure without a standing structure. The barbershop will still exist even if it physically is not standing after this altercation.
Sure.
All right. Yes, Shades.
Hey, yeah, the Shade Man himself. Oh, man. Oh, he is just so entertaining. Like I said, the lawyer bit, especially the lawyer bit, but just also how calculated and cool he is after he gets out of the jam he is at the beginning of the episode.
He may have lost his shades, but he gets them back.
He gets them back, yeah. He retrieves them. Oh, yeah.
I love that. It's such a mundane bit, but it's played so dramatically in an awesome way. I would just it's such like a cinematic moment, like he's reclaiming his honor in a way with the sunglasses. He's reclaiming his namesake.
Oh, God.
But let's see. The lawyer scene is just, you're right, the lawyer scene is absolutely priceless.
It's a highlight for sure.
It goes a little something like this. No, I'm kidding. No,
Mike, wrong show, Mike, wrong show.
No, Shades has not been recast with Jonathan Banks, or like we haven't seen.
I wasn't in the Better Call Saul finale, and now you can't even get me to say lawyer. I'm not happy with you two.
No, we don't see Shades' grandpa, unfortunately.
Right.
But no, but it's all seriousness. Here's his lawyer thing. It's really good there. Shades
I
keeping
be
his cool.
Daredevil's grandpa.
Yes, but seriously, Shades being all comical, collectors owning the scene here, where Priscilla's just kind of grilling him, trying to get some Diamondback confessions out of him.
These are your records right now that I held. Because I think you have something to say.
Lawyer,
So know your record, Mr. Alvarez? Came up in Harlem around Cottonmouth in the late 90s. Time is 5:36, but you made it to bedtime to see it.
lawyer.
Who's your new sponsor? Is it Willis Stryker?
Oh,
You were part of a hostage situation after none. Even if your lawyer does get you out, you won't walk away from that. That's multiple kidnapping and weapons charges. That was 25 years to life, so to you. Minimum.
okay. I know I did it.
Okay. We can protect you, but I need a name to verify.
He goes by lawyer. You need me to spell it?
Shades is having such a good time. It really is.
I mean, I just like to think of the thought process behind that. Like, was he in the room thinking about it before she came in, or was it an improv bit that he just came up with on the spot?
I would like to think he thought of it on the spot, just like the whole. I'm just gonna say lawyer, but I'm gonna change it. Like Shades is the kind of guy. I'm gonna change it. I think I like that we're seeing Shades experiment a little bit there.
And then Jonathan Banks is off to the side, like, "Good job, kid. Don't let him push you around."
And he's rewarded because he does actually get a lawyer.
Oh yeah.
Like this.
First name Law, last name Weir.
See, that's what happens when you commit to a bit, folks. You actually get the bit returned, and the actual lawyer shows up.
Yeah.
Like legal Beetlejuice.
And a damn good lawyer at that, because he walks out of the police station like about 5 seconds after she walks in the room.
Yep.
Like, I have to wonder how. Obviously, that conversation was quick. I have to wonder just how quick. Like just exactly what was said in the conversation. Like, yeah, Diamondback paid you off. You're sweet to go. Oh, sweet. Thanks, lawyer.
Yeah, let's see. So with Shades, I think it's the we'll really see with Shades. He's the criminal success story of how someone thinks on their feet and advances up the ladder. Basically, it's kind of the two comparisons I really have. This is how you get, because essentially in the end he's a Wesley. He's a Wesley. He's a more street level Wesley. Daredevil. We see how this guy works his way up the ladder, or interestingly, possibly. This could be. We never saw how Kingpin got to the top. This very much reminds me of in the Ramita comic that A Man Without a Fear, the book that really informs Daredevil. That whole story is about. And then Tiki, we had this gag where you brought up the. That could be a mini series in itself, seeing that story adapted where Kingpin, he works his way up the ladder from Muscle to killing Rigoletto and becoming the head honcho.
Oh, I absolutely think a Kingpin miniseries would work wonders. Yeah,
absolutely. And I'm saying we have kind of a street level version of that. I mean, again, sounds something like this is what you would do to work your way to the top. At the very least,
it'd be like the Godfather Part 2 of the Marvel Netflix universe.
Absolutely, I'm down with you there, and we have like a street level Wesley version of that with Shades here. We're seeing how a guy works his way to the top. He's using his smarts here, where he's not just playing ball like Zip, and that's kind of the divide we find those two in. And importantly, he's doing all of this. We should never forget the motivation. again, kind of like a Fisk, where, you know, Fisk is doing everything he does for the betterment of Hell's Kitchen. That's no lie. Daredevil can attest to that. No lie. Shades, he is protecting his vision of Harlem, which is also Mariah's vision of Harlem. Again, he's Mariah's Wesley. That's what he is. He is the tailor-made right hand, and I love that he's willing to see Harlem change, so long as the power emphasis is in the right hands. You know, as long as it's in the right hands and the right kind of bloodline, you know, the right kind of, you know, the royalty of Harlem, as long as it's in a Stokes' hands.
You know, in a weird way, I almost kind of think that the new Harlem might mean even more to Shades than it does to Mariah, because of course Mariah has to be the public face of the new Harlem, whereas Shades sort of, you know, he's lived in the bad part of Harlem his whole life. You know what I mean? So I think I think just the political stance that Mariah took even before the events of the series probably really kind of, you know, really took a liking to her in that way.
We don't have all the character development with Mariah without Shades.
That's what I'm saying.
That's critical. He is, again, he's kind of the Fisk kind of connection to a city drive behind Mariah's kind of bloodline. It's a mixture that takes over Harlem.
Yeah, absolutely.
And again, he's a guy who earned that power instead of just kind of like a guy who was in the right place at the right time. We get to see him earn it. That's kind of the cool thing we've had with Shades this whole season. Okay, speaking of Mariah.
Yeah, speaking of Mariah, good transition there. Okay, so after being out in the shadows, in the last episode, she kind of has to basically pick up the pieces politically of what went down with the nightclub shooting and sort of deal with all that fallout.
Yeah, I mean, I love that we start with Mariah. You know, she's in the club in the aftermath, and she's kind of reflecting on Mama Mabel's visions for the club. Which, when something like this, I mean, she's very unhappy. I mean, again, in the grand scheme, the club was always just kind of, it was something she took for granted, and that's why she's so impassioned. After losing Cornell, that's why she's so impassioned and angry over its destruction here. Which goes a little something like this.
My grandmother loved Harlem's paradise. She took care of all the small details. She loved it. From the murals and glasswork all the way down to the table lamps. No fine point was overlooked. This was her legacy. My family's in tatters and it's over. Give it back. Shit!
Yeah, and you know, like I said, I think the big difference between Shades and her is she is just kind of has a deeper sort of role to play in everything, and so in that way, the new Harlem is sort of, you know, just a little bit more muddied for her than it would be otherwise.
Exactly. Again, she has had like going purely through the political connections to get that. Here, it's like, you know, she has to dirty her hands, and she never imagined she'd have to go through this. And Shades and the other people she's inspired along the way, which we'll get to when we get to Alex, you know, have kind of shown her that, hey, it's all worth it. This end goal, it's still your end goal. Yes, it's muddy and it's a lot more complicated than you thought it was going to be, but hey, stick to your guns, man. We believe in you.
Right.
Yeah, they encourage her to stay strong and essentially give her the strength and the kind of the chutzpah to go against Diamondback with essentially the ultimate spin. Basically, she has to pull off the ultimate spin to Luke Cage to kind of get Diamondback, you know, Diamondback off the street. She's going against kind of an evil Luke Cage.
And I love how that kind of just like twisted the way around itself within the context of the season and the arc for her, right? Is that she ends up you know, while Luke Cage was kind of like the big sort of stain on her political career early on, he ends up being the only one who can actually save it. And ironically enough, she, you know, after using Luke Cage, she still ends up on top and ends up in a powerful political position. I mean, I'm kind of jumping ahead, but
yeah. I mean, this episode with her. I mean, it's what her planning stage. The planning stage of it here is that it's the epitome of using the changes in Harlem that are out of her reach or out of her control and spinning it to a way that she is self-making the new Harlem Renaissance. That's what she's doing. She's basically taking these changes and making them her own. And speaking of changes, kind of talking about kind of the change overall of their character, where we're definitely going with her, that we have a beautiful scene kind of talking about, which I'll play in a second, it's building up to it, is Mariah accepting her path. I think it's a really powerful scene in this episode that we do have, and it's a beautiful one between her and Shades, which I'll get to the kind of the Shade side of it down the line. But let's just say she's finally accepting the path that she was in denial. She denied that she was Mama Mabel. And this episode, much like Luke, accepting that he's a hero. I love that we have a paralleling arc like that, where Luke is, he's accepting himself as a hero, and she's accepting herself as the villain as we go through. And here, they're like one step away from fully accepting, and that's what we take in this episode. Basically, she no longer feels guilt over what happened to Cottonmouth, and is accepting the trajectory of her path. And basically, she and Luke have one kind of cross the one obstacle to overcome before they fully embrace, like one obstacle to overcome before they embrace their destiny, kind of like how Fisk and Daredevil had their altercation in the alleyway in the last episode that make them who they are.
Sure.
And it goes a little something like this: powerful scene where she basically kind of like no longer feels the guilt, and then Shades does help her a great deal with that.
What were you even doing at the club that night?
I was going there to kill him. You beat me to it.
Cornell never needed my political money. And he was never going to pay it back. Just,
So what do you say?
he saw things in me that I avoided my whole life. Now I am becoming that person he always saw. And I always denied.
You ready?
I stay ready, baby.
I mean, it's that little admission at the end, I stay ready, being, well, and of course the loveliness of like, I stay ready, baby, saying like, hey, I like this Shades gay. But at the same time,
Right.
I stay ready. It's her admitting, I've been ready for this. I've been ready to be kind of the political spin master of Harlem all my life. Now
I mean,
I'm
like, especially like from episode 1, we saw that in her character. We saw that potential, and it's taken this kind of wild ride of the press and all this crazy, superpowered shenanigans to sort of put her back into the spotlight. But she is really, as you said, she's ready to kind of step into it and really take advantage of the position she's been put into.
Exactly. All right.
Yeah. Okay, let's get into some parlays and partnerships. All right, so we got a pretty big list of parlays here, so let's try and get through them as quickly as we can. We'll start with Mariah and Diamondback.
So this one should go by pretty quick. She's Diamondback is showing gestures.
Basically,
of
she's not taking any any crap with Diamondback.
She's not, but initially Diamondback is very intimidating because he's calling her on the phone and basically kind of showing her like boo in her house to kind of show you that like, hey, I have all the power here, and you better not think about going against me. And he's proposing a half-heartedly proposing the new Harlem Renaissance, basically kind of giving the lazy man's pitch of, hey, you and I are going to be working together broadly in the future, but I'm going to be leaving after I kill Carl. But you do what you want with Harlem Springs. I'll drop in now and get my cash for my gun, for my weapons deal. But you run the place. Again, pretty much saying, do what you want, just make sure I have you. Kind of like I'm like majority shareholder.
Right, and doesn't he also offer like a donation to Harlem's Paradise as well?
He does, and that's what I'm saying. So that's the interesting with Diamondback. He is offering gestures of respect. So he's like, again, it's like kind of it's Diamondback is a businessman. Otherwise, how does he make all his money with the guns, and how does he build the infrastructure? So he is a businessman, but again, that business quality is being overcome with is being misguided by his personal vendetta. He's not realizing that he's burned all his bridges with after this gesture. I mean, before this gesture. So this gesture, in the grand scheme, means nothing. It's like, hey, I'm sorry I destroyed Harlem's paradise.
In the grand scheme, it does mean nothing, but at the end of the day, like, I do like how it shows that somehow Diamondback still is tied to the Harlem culture.
Exactly. I mean, he has, he realized this was a big deal because, again, he knew it was a big deal to Cottonmouth, and by proxy, it'd be a big deal to her. So he was like saying, I should have consulted you. I didn't. We're going to, say la vie. We'll call it a mulligan. We're just going to move forward. Here's an apology. Again, it's like a half-hearted apology almost.
Mm-hmm.
Now, back in, before all the Luke Cage events, he probably would have been more genuine with that apology. But, it would have been kind of the mysterious Diamondback versus kind of the out in Front Street Diamondback.
Right, right.
He's showing his power, and like he's touting off that he killed Shades. Again, a guy that he knows that you two probably would have conspired because he knows that Shades was conspiring with her. So you forget all your dreams you had with Shades about your new Harlem Renaissance. Think about the new Harlem Renaissance you'll have with me, which is one where I really don't care that much about Harlem.
Yeah, but like I said, Mariah, she is standing her ground with him. He is very intimidating, but she's not about to just kind of bow down to him. She's all about kind of being like willing to work with him to a certain respect to get the job done and to get the she is enticed by the donation money, but at the same time, like I said, she is much more in the Turk Barrett side of the equation when dealing with Diamondback than someone like Zip.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think just where it boils down, like the reason these two, last thing I was like, the reason these two kind of separate past, the reason these two are kind of doomed as a partnership in the end, because that's kind of the end of the partnerships in this episode, is that in the end, again, his Harlem is the money side of things, where it's all.
Where her Harlem has always been like the culture and the food and the music. And
exactly, and basically, if he gives her that seed money, but him giving her that seed money, if he basically just kind of gives her everything she needs, what's the point? She needs to earn the new Harlem Renaissance. She needs to build it herself. So if he just kind of hands, it's like too much power, like all the tools in the toolbox. So it's just bound for a betrayal going on here.
I mean, yeah, as you said, it kind of defeats the purpose of a Renaissance to begin with, just by the dictionary definition of the word.
Yeah, and when she stands her ground, Tiki, she has that great line saying, Harlem's already in my image, where, again, Harlem's in her image, and she's already has Harlem in her corner. For at least the big players in Harlem are already in her corner, where Harlem is rejecting Diamondback very publicly. So, again, just on that fact alone, these two would never work together as an arrangement.
Sure.
All right.
Okay, let's move on to Shades and Zip. So yeah, poor Zip, man.
Yeah, we like Zip. As the Diamondback, I like you, Zip.
No, it's like Zip. I feel bad for Zip because this is exactly the way that I like. Maybe not someone like Diamondback, but I will admit I am a little bit of a butt kisser when it comes to bosses in the workplace. So I get where this guy's coming from. You know what I mean? It's like, and everyone's saying he's getting too close to Diamondback, and he's just kind of being Diamondback's lapdog and whatnot. Calling him the B word. But I don't know. But of course, with Shades, that's where we kind of illustrated beautifully earlier on Dragon, where Shades is the opportunistic man who's going to use someone like Diamondback to advance himself.
Yeah,
whereas
it's the opportunist versus
Zip is personally like he's just happy to get the paycheck.
Yeah, it's like this. Zip is the opportunist for right place, right time, where Shades is the opportunist with vision and pride.
Right.
And I love that they're both children of Harlem. They both came up in Harlem, and only thing is that one of them plays it safer over the one who's prepared for different outcomes. Where again, Shades saw that kill coming, and basically he prevented his own demise there. Where he's it's a really awesome moment with Shades here. He's
who doesn't love a good elevator fight?
Yeah, Winter Soldier.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was really, again, a really cool moment for Shades there. Is kind of thinking on his feet. Again, that's the divine opportunist there, where Zip's just following orders, where Shades is defying orders, but because it wasn't the right call.
Sure.
Because of that, Shades is smarter and more capable with that kind of on-the-fly opportunity, kind of seeking nature of himself. And in the end, there's only room in Harlem for one of those type of opportunists. And There's only room for one Shades in Harlem, and basically, the original Shades beats out the new Shades.
Yep.
And basically,
again, kind of fitting in line with the Western motif of the show.
Yeah, I think it says a lot that Zip, in the end, he didn't embrace his own name with that bit. I mean, there was like a little comedy bit where he was like, "Hey, take those off," and basically saying, "Take off those shades."
Mm-hmm.
That bit goes a long way with the fact that, hey, you traded your pride to be the new Shades, not just be Zip, not be your own guy.
Exactly. Right,
what you
right.
perceive Shades to be all about. And the ending of these two kind of going head to head goes a little something like this.
You're a goddamn puppet. Who gave you the order? Diamondback! You stop playing your possession. Ask too many questions. Diamondback said you needed to be dealt with. Romeo would be ashamed of you. You're such a disappointment. You're the second person who told me that today. I'm my own man. Shades. Tell him yourself. Nice. Sorry, Romeo. You have to go.
Really cool moment where he picks up the glasses.
Oh yeah. And with that, Shades is just like, kind of entered the good spectrum of really, really killer Marvel sidekick villains.
Yep. All right.
Okay, I guess let's move on to Mariah and Alex.
Yes. So, so Alex,
you don't have a particular Vera Farmiga sound clip, do you?
I was going to build to it. But
Were
yes,
you?
I do.
Okay. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to spoil it. All right. Okay, build to it. I'm glad you have it.
Let's. I have
Yes,
the moment.
yes.
We'll get there. Just
Okay.
Anyway, so with Alex, let's. I've liked the character of Alex, and even the first watch, I've enjoyed.
I'm going to address the thing that, like with Alex, I kind of brought up briefly, but he is essentially the bizarro version of Malcolm for the show.
Yeah, kind of the the sidekick who instead of being controlled by an evil guy temporarily is working with the evil guy.
Mm-hmm. But he just wants to be a good secretary.
Yeah.
And seriously, Dragon, I don't know. It bothers me. This guy looks so much like Malcolm. Am I crazy?
I mean, Malcolm's hair is, it's much taller. I see a little bit of a passing similarity. I'll admit to it. I'm saying, like from a distance, maybe.
It's like they could be brothers. I don't know.
I could buy that's the thing. I could buy the sibling of it all there, but yeah. But yeah, I mean, Alex has always just been kind of like the number 2 guy with Mariah. Again, not make any waves. And again, he's not as ambitious as Shades, but again, he's a guy who definitely
he's not as ambitious as Shades, but he's more of his own man than Zip.
Exactly, he's a great middle ground between the two of them.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it's like I love that he's not like a criminal's criminal necessarily. He's a guy who. He's the guy who can operate within the letter of the law for Mariah Dillard and not be a fall guy, but at the same time not be like someone who would risk going to prison. Like, let's say worse comes to worse and she's incarcerated, then she'd have an agent on the outside who might be able to get away with things scot-free. Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
And basically he's a representation of like the people that basically that people do believe in her, and that's kind of scary, the fact that she has won people over. But
right, yeah.
You get that she's cultivated the faith in
and
this
the fact that this kid is like he's not necessarily a bad guy at all, and he seems pretty level-headed.
Because again, he truly believes in the new Harlem Renaissance, which again, in its inception, is not a bad idea. Let's go over that. I mean, again, the new Harlem Renaissance. Of course, yeah. I'm just saying it's become something a lot worse, but in its inception, it's a positive thing for the neighborhood.
Sure.
And with that, again, that's he just kind of ushers in again like the good that she does, that her ideal represented. But now this guy in this episode, he agrees to like help her in a negative way. You know, not doing anything untoward, but you know, he'll definitely help her out. And again, he kind of like Shades, kind of gets her out of her funk and kind of gets her back on the ball. It was a little something like this, you know, basically giving the pep talk in the club.
You're a goddamn.
All right, wrong one, and yeah, it's another one.
Accidental swear.
Right. Threw me off with the other clips. Okay, I got it now. Here we go.
Watch your mouth, sir. Go ahead.
Things can be rebuilt, and when you do, you rebuild it as your legacy, not just the club's. I want to be a part of that. Here's what I think. Controlling the narrative is everything. You can't have any loose threads, so anyone who might have overheard anything you said, they're diving back where she is in here. Is that right? Absolutely correct. I'm happy to service.
I wouldn't want you to do anything untoward.
Never.
Okay?
And I think she has even more respect for Alex. Alex was just the guy that she could count on, and now he's this guy, you know, she can really be out in the open with.
She looks at him very affectionately.
Yes, and speaking of that, I love that this is the thing with Freya Woodard here, where she's just we've had these moments in Luke Cage where she could be a little kind of, let's just say, impetuous or childish, and you know, and over the top, which is kind of funny, and basically we've joked it's like as if she went to the Formiga School of Acting, and
yes,
the scene.
a little bit.
And let's just say here's the point of comparison here. So again, here's what she actually sounds like with Alex here. I love it. She's like, we see the nice, as we've always seen, but now even more so, we see the nice side of Mariah Dillard with Alex, where she's just being really nice to the kid. She's now she's mentoring him. That's where it's going. She's mentoring someone who believes in her, and he's kind of a ghost of her former self, and that's the reason she likes him.
Sure.
It was a little something like this.
Where's she at?
She left with Detective Knight. I'm sorry. I'm not used to doing anything like this.
We'll find her again. Just knowing that she can't be trusted is helpful. You did a good job, Alex. Hey, hurrah.
You know, all these nice things kind of take us back to the Formiga School of Acting or something like this.
Oh yeah.
Alex! Thank you.
It's just so darn polite.
It fits so well. It fits so well, Dragon. It's like two peas in a pod. Oh, I'm so glad you caught that.
All right. Okay. So I think that's enough on Mariah now. Just, you know, really good. She's mentoring the kid, taking him under her wing, which is she's nice to the kid.
Yeah, you know, you can't say it's the exact same dynamic as Norma and Alex, but you know, it's good. Okay, let's see. So I guess moving on now to Misty and Candace.
Yes. So yeah, Candace, again, we really pay off Candace's story here in the last one.
Man,
here,
oh man, it's going to be hard to talk about Candace without getting into the last episode because, all the setup is just like, you know, watching it in context of what happens with last episode, you're just like, oh, Misty, you're meaning so well, but it's all going to go so horribly wrong. Just stick to the books, Misty.
Yep. So let's see. I like here that with Candace, basically Candace is giving the official statement. She's basically telling the truth about Mariah and everything. Basically saying Luke was framed and all the stuff that Misty doesn't need, and she suspected with Candace, but she could never prove. And now Candace, having been saved by Luke and kind of influenced in a positive way by Claire, she has now come forward, and basically now they're on the same side here. Where Misty sees I love that Misty isn't angry at Candace, and as this conversation progresses, by the end of it, she sees Candace not as a scumbag who took money, but she sees Candace as, again, as we kind of hype Candace up to be, again, just like an average Joe in Harlem who just tempted by the money and has a conscience and regrets it somewhat. Where again, there are good people in Harlem. Where Candace is seen now as a victim of Mariah's mind games, and in light of that, Misty's forgiving her for that because again, oh my God, I know how much Mariah plays mind games, how insufferable she can be with that sort of thing. So I understand how this poor girl was scared and terrified by her.
Yeah, of course. And with Candace, as we saw, it was never about the money. It was always about just, you know, she was just scared to death of the implications of what would happen if she didn't go along with it. That was always her fear. That was always her motivation. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Sounds a little something like this.
Mariah scares me more than Cottonmouth. I asked her if she thought Luke did it. Mostly to see if I could trust her. To see if she would tell me the truth. She looked me right in my eyes. Never know when anyone is capable of. It was the way she said it. She would kill me if she knew I was speaking to you. I truly believe that. Thank you for helping me. I'm going to nail Mariah Dillon's ass to the wall.
Yeah, really nice to see Misty in her corner like that. Really nice. You know, and just, it's fueling Misty's outrage at Mariah for being, you know, so evil and manipulative to this poor girl.
And it's nice because, like, throughout the series, we've seen Candace in kind of this point of vulnerability where not a lot of people are on her side. You know what I mean? And she's kind of just, and so it's really nice to see probably the, you know, definitely the beacon for the moral high ground of the show, besides Luke, would be Mercedes Knight, and she's sticking her neck out. So that's just, you know, that along with Luke saving her life, you know, was just kind of a great turning point for her character, which. Yeah, you know, let's cross the bridge of what happens with her when we get into the next episode. Again, like I said, I'm kind of dancing around that.
But in the meantime, you know, God bless Detective Mercedes.
Mercedes Knight. Yes.
Detective Mercedes Knight. Okay.
All right. So moving on to Luke and Turk.
Oh yeah, this dynamic's really fun. Honestly, I mean, I think it's the best. I don't know. It might be my favorite Turk Barrett scene. We got a lot of good ones, and especially in Daredevil.
It's a really fun one.
You gotta remember, he is a Daredevil character first and foremost, but he's so fun when he's in Harlem. That's the thing. He's so fun.
But when he's in Harlem, he just gets to comment on how insane all the Harlem people are.
Yeah, and again, he comes from a city where a guy, you know, in a devil costume beats the crap out of him regularly. So
right,
it's, you know, trading crazy for powered crazy, and basically it's a really good dynamic they have. I mean, they have a really great interrogation scene where I love it.
I love the Bobby Fish kind of baiting him.
Yeah, take us to the bait.
Well, basically, Bobby calls Turk at the barbershop phone. It's like, yeah, I got like 5 pairs of those classic Michael Jordans. Air Jordans. Yeah, the first edition kind and everything. Pick them up.
Off a truck.
Yeah, they fell off a truck. Like, I love that move from Fish for a variety of reasons. A, it's like Fish kind of throwing out bait, fish, bait, pun, funny. B, it's almost kind of like, you know, in chess, sort of baiting a player to move a piece to a specific location. You know, it's very much like drawing out a pawn or something like that. And C, it's just very clever on Fish's part, and it's a lot of fun. So, anyways. So, yeah, then we get into, you know, the actual exchange, which, you know, let's just say Luke is, you know, he's not afraid to show off his physical prowess when it comes to dealing with this guy.
Yeah, I mean, let's set up just a smidge here. Is that again? It's like this great, you know, dynamic here where you have, you know, this selfish, someone with this very selfish code, or basically how Turk in the scene, you know, explains his actions, saying, "Well, it's a matter of time. If anyone's going to profit off it, might as well have been me. I mean, it was an inevitability." And of course, it just pisses off Luke big time.
Oh yeah.
And he's, you know, it's basically, you know, this selfish code versus our very responsible Luke, he's sickened with Turk, and he's so mad at him. And again, he does blame him for what happened to Pop. Again, it's not entirely Turk's fault, and Luke knows it. Just that peeves him.
Kind of like indirectly Turk's fault.
And again, like, he knows that Turk's he's right about it, but he just hates the fact that he has to admit that, because he has like the guy in his arms. At least he's the one who literally tipped off the location. Right. And goes a little something like this, and just Turk's shrieks, I think, are hysterical. Just his shrieks of terror. So. But I love he's like whistling down the street when he's pulled here. So imagine that. Murdoch vision, folks. Murdoch vision. Right here.
Writing was on the wall. Somebody would
It was my runner-up for Sweet Christmas. It's such a hilarious.
Oh, it's really
segment.
fun. Yeah,
It's a classic Luke Cage interrogation. You know, where he's not putting the fear of. Well, he's definitely scaring him, but he's not like he's not.
Well,
getting,
I mean, Luke Cage basically just kind of cuts the middleman out of the interrogation. Like, look, we're not going to play this way. You're not going to tell me you don't know where Diamondback is.
Yep.
You're going to tell me where Diamondback is, or else I'm going to hurt you. And it's just that cut and dry, sucker.
Something kind of. Oh, by the way, add one. You have to add one.
Okay, sure.
Let's see. So, one thing with this does play in a little bit to Luke's hero arc because Luke gets satisfaction using his power in this scene because again, you see he has that great kind of heroic quip at the end. Don't worry, Mr. Barrett. They pick up the trash tomorrow.
That seems like such a Spider-Man line.
And I love the fact that he walks us through this to make sure, okay, no, I'm not actually putting him in any lethal danger because he does have, he has food in there. He will
right.
Condemning him to a terrifying death.
Now, again, I mean, it's not going to be a pleasant night, but
that kind of deserves it. Again, the whole pop thing, he deserves it.
Of course. Right, shall we move into the star-crossed lovers themselves, Shades and Mariah?
Shades and Mariah. Yes.
Okay, Dragon, I got to admit, this came a little bit out of nowhere for me. I'm not sure how I feel about it.
Well, bear in mind, too, you might be jumping the gun a little bit with that. That we really
I guess I am a little bit, but at the same time, like, is the reveal in the finale supposed to be just a big, like, twist, or is it supposed to be built up to? I don't know.
It's fair, but I'm saying they did have at least they had room to grow. We seem becoming very reliant and really kind of they admire each other a great deal. So
I guess so. I don't know. To me, Shades just always kind of felt like he was preying on Mariah more than anything else.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, it's not. It might have been. I don't. We're jumping ahead with that. I think it's more like there's kind of like.
I'm sorry. Okay, let's get into the let's get into the meat of what's going on this episode.
So let's see. So importantly, they do acknowledge that they've come a long way since episode 1, where she's where by the end now she's become the new Cottonmouth.
And in episode 1, she didn't want to have anything to do with the Cottonmouth dealings or Shades or any of that,
Yeah, and tell me if this makes any sense to you. In the end, where we're leading to here, and basically again, we're kind of building the structure here, and we're going to pay it. We're going to finish it off in the next episode here, where the path they're going on that they're accepting in this episode is that she's becoming the new Cottonmouth, and he's becoming the new Mariah.
I have to wrap my head around that one a little. I'm not sure, especially in terms of the romance angle. There's a lot to unpack with that.
Well, I'm just, what I mean. I'm just saying. I was saying in terms of their roles, like looking back at the beginning of season 1.
Well, yeah, I mean in terms of their roles within the context of Harlem's Paradise as well, certainly.
Yes, and what I love in that scene that I kind of played a little earlier is that what's so great about their dynamic here, and why I think, let's just say seeds of romance could be planted, because it's a really personal thing they have in that car scene that really I'm a lot easier on the thing, is that basically, he alleviates her guilt over Cottonmouth by saying, like, hey, I was going to kill him, which basically he's been so certain throughout the season when he's told her, you did what you had to do, and now we get the explanation of why he keeps saying that is because I was going to kill him, which means you shouldn't feel guilty at all. He was fated to die, so you don't have to beat yourself up over it anymore. Just accept your role. Which I thought was really interesting. I thought it was really, and she really appreciates.
No, you're right.
That.
You're right. That I can kind of zero in on that. That was a good kind of launching point there. It's all very subtle, like I said.
Like they're both really helping each other out in terms of their character growth, because now, because of that action, her past is no longer, and looking at whole past context with the Luke arc as well, as that her past is no longer holding her back. Mm-hmm. And she can usher in again kind of Harlem's future because she's quieted her past. Nothing's tethering her to the past, so she can move forward and kind of remember the past with kind of we're using the same locations and we're building a better Harlem.
Right.
And of course, we have a lot of trust with that bottle scene. Where once Shades appears from the dead, she has a gun on him, and again, she doesn't know whether she can trust Shades or not. And he basically again takes the leap of faith of trust here, gives her the bottle, and like, hey, this is the only thing I have in the world that actually convict you, and you can have it because we need each other. And it's a scene that goes a little something like this. I mean, yeah, they are very, very like-minded.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so I guess that's a perfect transition then into our final parlay, which is the unholiest of unholy parlays, Dragon. Oh
Yep,
boy,
we've been building to this.
Taking place within Switzerland itself, no less. Luke, Mariah, and Shades. Oh man. I mean, talk about a penultimate moment right here. You know what I mean? It's like, as Shades lays out, it's like the enemy of my enemy is my friend, and nowhere is it clearer than right here in this moment. And of course, as you already played, you know, Bobby Fish not happy about this particular establishment being chosen as the meeting point for this particular parlay.
Yeah. And what's interesting about it is that, you know, it is very much it is very much the ultimate parlay to clear Luke's name, and it's kind of like it's like, you know, the old adage, you know, we put the gun on the table in the first act, and then it gets fired by like the third act, right? And what we have is, you know, we've established in the very beginning, you know, it's Switzerland, you know, we parlay here, and we yet again we try to kind of pay off that parlay that we've set up.
So I guess in a lot of ways that does kind of alleviate my. It's not a huge issue, but you know, my kind of like, I wish I would have seen more Switzerland, because Switzerland does have a big role to play in the penultimate episode. So that kind of takes some of it.
And it's really great that now at this point we now know Luke's past, and we know how everyone kind of factors into everyone's story, and like knowing what everyone's put Luke through. It shows like the respect of, you know, Luke is taking Pop's teachings to heart, and again, Bobby Fish also representing Pop's teachings here, where as much as he hates these guys for what they've done, they are offering a very beneficial parlay with him. It goes a little something like this. One second. There we go.
You have a problem, so do I. It's a knockout first. Where's Diamondback? I don't know. The parlay between the three of us is over. You have the nerve to use that term. Right here. Your pop died. Call up Diamondback's location, or I'll stump you like you're back in Seagate. Luke, be cool, brother.
Whoa, no one needs to stomp anyone. Pops made this place Switzerland for a reason. In case we have a mutual enemy, the only way to bring him down is for us all to come together.
There's no way, Milk.
We came to offer you a truce in exchange for helping you find Diamondback. You drop your beef with us.
You both framed me for her. There's nothing you can offer me that's going to make me let that go. How about your freedom? Right here is everything you need to prove that Diamondback framed Carl Lucas. Even if Carl Lucas is exonerated, Luke Cage is not one of the perfectly common mouth.
Don't tell them the truth. Diamondback killed Cornell and Damon Boone. You'll go free.
Sounds like a pretty good deal.
You know, it sounds like it always sounds like a good deal at the time, right, Dragon? Right?
Yeah.
It always sounds like always sounds too good to be true. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is.
Yeah.
Oh,
but again, it's just such a great set that Luke hates these people so much, and yet he's kind of stymied that. Yeah, darn it, they have a way of.
Right.
Darn it, they have it. Yeah, like the ultimate bargaining chip there. Darn it. So he has to hear them out. You know, in the spirit of parlay, he must hear them out. It's a cool idea. All right.
Okay, let's move on to Pops Approves. It's time to find out what great elements of the episode get a big ol' thumbs up from Poppy.
Boy, oh boy, do we have a plethora of good stuff here with this episode.
I guess one of the things we mentioned is kind of the, the subtle ways in which they use Luke. He's not really the major focal point. Harlem is kind of the focal point, much more so than I'd say any other episode.
Yep. Again, like kind of connecting to the parlay scene, the danger I love with Diamondback's actual entrance, basically how everyone's like kind of at each other's throat for a second. By the way, it's the real quick, it's bothering me. The Mariah scene, the Mariah Shades scene, there was one you need to add there. Did you add one when I played that?
Yeah, the Mariah Shades, yeah.
Good. Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
Yep.
Sorry. Anyway, yes. Yes. So what I love about the actual entrance of Diamondback, and when things are all hectic, then Grenade enters the fray, and then Diamondback enters. I love what's so great about that is that it's the epitome of it's the danger of the past continued. But basically, the minute Luke's file is entered in, a representation of, hey, you can clear your past. Like, put your hands on this file, and your past. Like, make this deal, and your the issues of your past are no more. Again, the ultimate temptation and representation of Luke's past is met by the dangerous version of the past, where it's like, hey, past is introduced, he's considering it. Grenade, more dangerous representation of the past. It is continued through Diamondback's entrance. So that was like kind of a cool way of making that thematic point really stick.
Oh yeah,
goes with something like this. So again, hey Luke, all your dreams will come true.
What the hell? What type of Jean-Paul Gaultier shit is this? What are you, a pimp stormtrooper? No, I'm the angel of death. Damn, look at her now on the cockroach. Your mama should have named you Petra.
That's another one, by the way.
Oh, I know. I got it.
No, I mean there was two in that scene that you had to.
No, I didn't. My bad.
Right. But you see what I mean, though, man. It's kind of a cool, kind of like thematic way of kind of making the past dangerous with Diamondback entering the scene there.
Sure. This is gonna sound kind of obscure, but I really love the use of xylophone in the score in this episode.
Oh, that is good.
It's just in general with the show, but I think in this episode in general, it kind of gets enunciated a lot more than other episodes for some reason. Maybe it's just because it's like the mounting tension, right?
Yeah,
and so
sure.
Especially towards the end of the episode, it's really kind of escalating. Let me see. I think just in terms of the storytelling, I think we do a good job. Like, this is a great sort of it's a very economic sort of penultimate episode where all the pieces that were put up before this episode kind of get lined up into place for what will be the finale. It's a good sort of tying the loose ends of the previous 11 episodes while at the same time, like laying the stakes out for the last episode.
Well, let's talk about a big portion of it connects to a lot of our favorite moments. So let's just say the connecting point to our sweet Christmases, Method Man.
Yes. God, like one of the best cameos I've seen in a while, just, in terms of effectively just putting a celebrity into a show and just having it work out really well.
Now, we've seen Method Man in a few things, and then we don't know him for his musical. Oddly enough, we don't know him for his musical career. At least I don't.
I can't say I do either. Kendrick Lamar got a name drop. I know Kendrick.
I know it's so obscure. I know a Method Man from his appearances on CSI as a reoccurring kind of fun.
That's right.
Guy.
You mentioned that. Yeah.
Yeah. Basically, Nick Stokes always has to deal with drops because they have rapport and it's kind of funny. And like ever since he was introduced, it was like a seasonal tradition since he was introduced on like 4 or 5 episodes. And because of that, that's how I on the first watch I didn't pick up on it. I said, okay, Method Man, he's like a known star I don't know about. But then I realized in the second watch, wait, he looks familiar. Do I know this guy from something else? Oh my God, it's Drops. It's Drops. It's
Drops.
Yeah. But yeah, so Method Man, he's used so effectively well. We have these great radio interviews. He does a radio interview, which kind of leads to another great moment that we're going to be talking about soon. But he weighs in on a lot of stuff that I think adds to the great social commentary, which we'll break down.
For sure.
Let me play the introductory point of this commentary.
Go ahead.
Basically, he's on the radio interview. He's basically saying he got the bullet-ridden hoodie from Luke Cage, basically talking about his interaction he had with Luke Cage, and he basically
turns the bullet-ridden hoodie into like not just a fashion statement, but sort of a note of solidarity.
Exactly. Oh my God, such a brilliant! I'm gonna wait on that after I play this. I love that hoodie symbol, boy.
Seriously, what I'm just saying, like, if that was me, right, and I was on the run, why even get involved? But he did, and those dudes was nervous, so anything could have happened. As far as I'm concerned, okay, love for Cage, man, and he went eyes.
I mean, in that, I think my favorite line, honestly, maybe of the episode, it's a really good line. Because every time I come back to it, I think it's just such a great line. Where your Method Man just has this, it's a great delivery too. I mean, again, he's he's got some acting chops. Let's face it. Again, he's put on TV for a reason. He says, I don't know what it is, but there's something powerful about a bulletproof black man who's unafraid. That's a great.
I gotta say, Dragon, you're kind of stepping over my favorite moment here. So.
I'm saying we're not going over like all the we're not breaking down the stuff that follows that. But I'm just going.
No, we're not. I guess I'll weigh on it here too. Yeah, for me, Dragon, that is absolutely my favorite line of the episode, and it might be one of my favorite lines of the whole series. It kind of encapsulates what's so powerful about Luke Cage as a pop culture symbol. You know what I mean? Not just for Marvel, but just in terms of the grand spectrum of entertainment. And Dragon, just to get personal with you, I mean, obviously I'm white, okay, so I'm not the first victim of police brutality. I know, right? Shocker. However, I do live very close to the Bay Area, especially Oakland. And Dragon, if the finale of Inside Out has taught you anything, it's that Oakland is a very bad place that you don't want to go to.
Yeah, they have 8113 written ominously on the walls.
But in all seriousness, though, Dragon, unfortunately, I've seen my fair share of, just senseless police shootings of African American citizens within especially the Oakland community. And I got to say, man, like, even though I'm not within the African American community myself, it hits close to home for me because it literally is close to home for me. Like, Oakland is one bridge away from where I work. You know what I mean? So like I said, even though I'm not in that culture, I'm very close to that culture, and it does kind of strike me in a way that, maybe people in the Midwest, I don't want to say people in the Midwest aren't as sensitive about this, but like I said, like police shootings on news in places like Oakland and Richmond are kind of like a daily part of our lives here in the Bay Area. So it does strike close to home for me. And so, the idea of the bulletproof black man, like I said, even though it's not my culture, I can absolutely appreciate how powerful that is for the community. Yeah. Right, and there's my soapbox moment of the episode, folks.
Should I wait to break down the hoodie stuff till after your moment? Because it's not.
Yes, please.
Okay, because just remind me of it, though. Remind me, because I got stuff.
Because the hoodie stuff is mostly what my favorite moment kind of boiled down to.
It also, again, ties in the lyric, stuff in the moment too. Okay, let's see. So,
like I said, just for the record, the Method Man stuff about the bulletproof black man is also kind of very much closely tied to my favorite.
Sure, I saw it was purely like the follow up to.
No, you're right. That's my fault for not being specific enough.
But honestly, I think it was all the favorite moments in the episode are Method Man was just an MVP of this episode.
He's just great, yeah.
All three, honestly, all the moments. Like, again, another runner up for this weekend was the first half that we were kind of went over just now. So again, it was all the Method Man stuff was just aces.
Exactly.
Okay, let's see. So again, just kind of saving the hoodie stuff for later. I like that we go really big and towards the end here. We're going like we're not afraid to go big with the whole the aftermath of the Domingo battle, where everyone's been beaten with the super strength, and we're building up the Hammer Tech suit, and Luke discovers a bomb, and basically, I love him saving Domingo, I love him saving even the bad guy, where it's kind of the sweet sister moment, if you will. Sounds a little something like this.
I like you.
Sorry. I mean, that's a great ominous build to the Hammer Tech suit, I thought.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And with that, speak kind of where we're with moments like that. I love that in this episode, especially to the last episode. Again, it's a great kind of opening act for it, because again, the ending very much leads into the last episode. So it's very much, they're very much go hand in hand with each other.
Well, I mean, we're going to talk about the sweet Christmas stuff in terms of last episode is very much like a big action scene that the whole season's been building towards. followed by what is essentially a police procedural for the rest of the episode, which is a very bold choice to go out on for the season finale. So we'll get there when we talk about the final episode.
Oh, sure. And what I'm getting at is I love that, even, again, just kind of addressing kind of the first half, back half sort of things, that I love that here we're circling back to the beginning of the show with, after the whole Harlem's Paradise, very kind of bottle episode that we had last episode. Sure. This one, we're circling back to the familiar territory of that first half.
It's kind of like with the bottle, we're out of the bottle, and now we're just kind of like, we're in Harlem, the kaleidoscope of Harlem. Yeah, like we're seeing all the different colors of it.
Exactly, we're seeing some familiar characters. We have the tone that's very similar to kind of the beginning of the show, and we're still able to go big with the Diamondback stuff again, like Sweet Sister just now.
Kind of bringing things back around full circle with like Mariah and Luke kind of trying to patch things up, and Shades and the barbershop. Yeah, you're right. Just a lot of pieces kind of just very, very, very swiftly falling into place.
Speaking of the Hammer tech suit, I love how faithful and practical it is. I mean, it looks
so good. It looks so good. It might be one of my favorite costumes of the Netflix shows, in all honesty.
I'll get to the practicality of it next episode, but let's just say I love how if you ever look at the helmet's added, but everything else, that is exactly how he looked in the comic. They made his over the top kind of 70s look actually practical and functional. That's awesome.
Right.
So freaking awesome. Let's see. So as let's see. I love that as Luke's arc progresses, he's more representative of his character as we get more like so iconic, Luke Cage moments.
Yeah, you're right. Like him slowly becoming a folk hero, kind of puts him more. And of course, this is the first episode where the words "hero for hire" get mentioned. So that again, all that is kind of putting him more in line with the comic book counterpart of his character.
Yeah, and also with that, I'm connecting it to the Diamondback idea too. So as Luke's hero arc progresses, the very end of this episode is he's confronted by a full decked out comic book villain of the Luke Cage.
Very much so. Yes.
I mean, again, like that showdown is evidence of Luke becoming a super. He's thrust into the hero position, kind of like what we had with the Die Hard situation last episode. But now it's like comic book escalation of it all. We use. With the sparingly, I like that we use both Diamondback and Luke sparingly, while the focus is on the supporting characters and Harlem collectively.
Yeah, that's a very smart move for the penultimate, because it really does, like I said, I keep using this analogy, but it really does kind of put all the chess pieces in the proper context for what's going to go down in the final episode. And
speaking of said chess pieces, we're using these players like Turk, Candace, and Alex very well in this episode. Kind of
Bobby Fish. Speaking of chess players.
Well, yeah, certainly, yeah. Let's see. Trying to think if there's anything.
I'm kind of running gambit on stuff on my end.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Sure.
Okay. So, Dragon, do you know what time it is?
What time is it, Tiki?
Sweet Christmas! It's time to find out what moments made us say "Sweet Christmas." It's growing on you, isn't it?
Well, I think I looked at time more for the ending one, but okay.
All right. So, Dragon, since yours takes place chronologically before mine, why don't you start?
Give me 1 second. Okay, I'm good. All right. I had to get it queued up. Sorry. Okay, so let me link that out of here. So, I love both of our Sweet Christmases. A little minor spoiler here. They're both Method Man.
It's just Method Man just kind of comes in and steals the show. What can we say, folks?
Now I gotta hype this one up because honestly, this short of one other moment in the series is the definitive Sweet Christmas moment for me. It really is. It just is I think the best Luke Cage scene.
Okay.
In the season, quite possibly. It's between this and the Genghis Khan scene in the very first episode as like the best scene that represents Luke Cage and everything I love about the character.
Right.
So like going into this season, like everything back in our Defenders, like all the Netflix series, like speculation, like what
back in the day, way back in the ye old days.
Honestly, this scene, the convenience store scene, the convenience store robbery scene with Method Man is essentially everything I wanted in a Luke Cage show, along with that Genghis Khan scene we had the opening. Those two scenes represent everything I wanted for this show, and like they hit it.
Maybe without the specific detail of Method Man, you hadn't thought of that yet, but
exactly. But I'm saying just like something like. Again, like insert anyone here. It's like the exact. Even if it was like an average Joe, it would have been perfect. It's
sure.
But I mean,
I think the fact that it is Method Man kind of makes it more powerful because Method Man is just as much of an average Joe as any of us when put into a situation like this.
And Method Man being used shows Luke's humbleness so well because again, he's not seeing himself as a hero, and he's more in awe of Method Man than.
No, man, it's you.
That's the thing. That's the beauty of the scene here. And again, it's everything like head to toe, like how you should write a Luke Cage scene. Of I had to cut out a little bit. It pained me to cut some of this, but we had like the beginning where Luke's just walking down the streets again. Like Luke doesn't have many scenes in this episode. It's like one of
doesn't.
Possibly.
Yeah.
I want to say Luke just has 3 scenes in the episode. To be honest,
I think you're right. I was counting it out earlier before we came on.
Four if you count. I guess technically 4. He has 4 scenes in the entire episode. And
let's see. We have the one at the beginning. We have.
We have the cop.
Which basically the whole first 10 minutes is him, like escaping and the cop and everything. Yeah. And then we have this scene is the next time we see him.
And we have the chat with Fish.
The chat with Fish, and then we have the parlay at the end. So it's 4 scenes. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. We use them and they're short scenes. Like they're again, aside from that opening one, it's pretty short. They're all the other scenes. And
right.
Anyway, so just again, like the beginning of the scene is like he's just walking down the streets and he's seeing like he's saying such a classic Luke Cage thing. I don't have time for this. Just like I don't have time for this foolishness. and basically, these 2 jokers. And I love it. The characterization on these thieves. They're 2 idiots who put on ski masks and they're robbing.
Right. And then like the guy notices Method Man and he takes off his mask. Oh, I'm so sorry, Meth. You know how it is, bro.
It's such like it almost feels like a modern Luke Cage comic referencing the '70s Luke Cage era. It just feels so perfect like that.
Right.
And it's the fact that we have some great comedy before Luke Cage enters the fray, and then we have the humbleness of Luke, him doing we have like all the hints of it. Like it's the character of Luke. It's the power set of Luke where he can just literally like slap these guys upside their heads to knock them out, which is great. Mm-hmm. And the fact, of course, he's crunching the gun, he's doing all this great stuff, and then we have the introduction of the powerful, the hoodie thing we've been building this whole season that pays off in your moment, which we'll be getting to.
Of course.
But I'm saying, it's introduced in this one. It goes a little something like this, which is, oh my God, it's like everything I want in a Luke Cage show right here.
My bad, man. I grew up on that Wu-Tang shit. You know how it is. I'm really trying to have a conversation right now. I'm sure what I'm saying. Yo, man, pull your mask down. You're supposed to be watching the damn door, right? Let's see if I use my government name, Michael. Damn, I'm looking like a cheese grater. Oh, snap, you look. I mean that. Give me a phone. Phone, fool. Yo, my bad, man. I just got a little nervous and shit when you do my mask on. It's you. Yeah, it's you. No, man, it's you. Oh, man, be a little stout. Enjoy the back of the day. Sweet Christmas. Double XL. Way ahead of you, homie. Call the cops. There are a lot of people who pay for this kind of protection. Keep the money.
Oh my God! It's so much like a Western scene too. Just the hero comes in, he's takes care of business, then he's out of there, and that's 4 by the way for the entire scene.
Oh really? Jeez, 4. Okay. Yeah. All right. Got it.
Right. But and also one other great bit I think it pretty much covered it all except for one bit is that I love that this to me is the charm of it too. Is just where the one I wish we had more of these moments in superhero things. So we have that one guy, the other robber. I think it's George. They had George and Bryce. I think that's what their names were. He accidentally on impulse, he shoots Luke a bunch of times, and then he immediately apologizes for it. I'm sorry, I didn't mean that.
Right.
Oh God, dude, that is such a perfect moment. This scene, it hits me in every single right spot. I love this scene so much.
And Dragon, it works out that you are very, very attached to this scene, and I am very, very attached to the next scene. Not saying that your scene's fantastic as well, of course, as we've.
And again, we both. I love all the Method Man scenes. They're excellent. They're all great.
So, like I said, I just want to emphasize that I do really love the the speech Method Man gives before the rap, where he's talking about the bulletproof black man and whatnot, and how empowering that symbol is. Because really, on a cultural level, that's probably like one of the most powerful things that Luke Cage, the show, has brought to us now. And Dragon, God, the news right now, buddy. I mean, I don't want to go into it any further than that. Just the news right now.
Well, if you don't mind, I like to go over the one thing we can do, because it is proven for this show. Is that it's now, I remember there was an interview Mike Coulter did, and I remember this, and there's a reference to it in the song. So basically all the hoodie stuff. That's your
Trayvon Martin. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, that's the thing. So
Trayvon Martin is a case that's very similar to what I was talking about with the stuff that hits close to home with me in Oakland and places like that. It's a very, very similar kind of just unjustified, essentially a murder of an innocent person. Yeah, but that's all it comes down to. That's simply all it comes down to. It is murder.
Sure, and here's the thing. It's very. Someone jumped the gun, did a very stupid thing, which killed this poor innocent. That's essentially, it's kind of very, very unfortunate, very unnecessary, very unfortunate. And what's so great? And here's the thing: I kind of didn't, I kind of forgot about almost, is that with Luke Cage, because again, I was so wrapped up in the show, I kind of forgot about this. Is that if I'm right, Luke Cage in the comics before this show, the hoodie was never a part of his gimmick. He was always the tight T-shirt and the bracelets. That was kind of his. That was him, after the '70s look, of course. The '70s tiara thing and the bracelets, and then he evolved to just guy in the yellow T-shirt with the smaller version of the bracelets. And the hoodie was never really part of his character. And I'm pretty sure, based on that interview with Coulter and the showrunners, that the hoodie was introduced as partially is very, very intentionally a tribute to Trayvon Martin. And the message behind that, just that universal kind of like, it's almost like kind of the Batman mask thing. Anyone can be Luke Cage, and anyone can be a hero type thing. But I love the meaning attached to it here, is that it's kind of a commentary on. I love what the hoodie filled with holes is the symbol of moving, again with Luke and Pops' thing here, moving forward from tragedy. Luke has been subjected to a lot of injustice, a lot of tragedy, and he's moving forward, and he has that burden to bear going forward. And that's kind of what the hoodie with the bullet holes symbolizes, not only for that issue, but for Luke's character and what Luke's cause is all about. This is a guy who's shot by Judas Bolts. They've invented a gun specifically for Luke, and it's such great writing.
Yeah. So. So that is essentially like the big image of the episode for me, is like all the, all the hoodies with the bullet holes and the solidarity between the black men in Harlem, for Luke. And of course, the rap just kind of sums it all up. It sums up all the ideology that I love about the scene. So why don't you go ahead and play it, Dragon?
So I didn't get the whole thing, folks, but I have basically the Marvel section of it.
The Marvel verse.
Basically, from the section mentioning Iron Man onwards to the end. So that's pretty much what I got going here. And we have also the meaningful references, again, like the Trayvon Martin lines in there too, and also like a hero for hire, a lot of great little in jokes and references throughout the thing. And the power scene, just bear in mind, picture throughout this, we have cops going through Harlem, and they're seeing, some of them are arresting. Again, these are the identical hoodie that Luke's been wearing throughout the series. The dark hoodie with the gold zipper and the yellow on the inside. They're all wearing the same model of hoodie that convenience store is selling. That's great.
Oh yeah.
And again, like a show of solidarity of like, hey, we're all Luke Cage. We're all like, we're all in his corner, and you guys should realize he is not, he's innocent of this.
Dragon. In other words. In other words.
That's in other words. I'm Luke Cage.
You can't play it. You can't play it.
No, Tiki, I can't play it. No.
Aw, but you had it.
Give me a second.
Come on.
Yep.
This is all my fault.
Crap. Okay, I got it.
Got it?
Right here.
Now you
hype up the
now,
thing
now you see, folks, like the Method Man thing is, you know, the Method Man thing is so powerful, this rap, that even Diamondback himself, he's like, you know what? I'm gonna stop this feuding with Carl. I'm gonna announce and go out into the street and announce my solidarity with him. Because much like Spartacus, I am Luke Cage. Hey, fools, listen to me and listen well. I'm Luke Cage. I'm Luke Cage. I'll scream it from the rooftops. All right, you got it?
Yes, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I got it. Here we go.
All right, I've got three things to unpack with that really quick, and then you can kind of So number one, like I said, I love the cutting back and forth between the, you know, the bullet-ridden hoodies on the street as the song's playing, kind of showing how, you know, basically what Bobby Fish points out. You know, they're writing folk tales about you, man. You know, like Luke Cage has really become like larger than life. And then lastly, Dragon, I just really love the. I love the shout out to Pops. It makes it all feel very realistic and in the world. And I also love how Method Man himself knows that Luke Cage is kind of a reluctant hero. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So at the end of the song, in the outro, he's like, come on, man. I know you can do it. You got to believe in yourself, bro. Like Harlan believes in you, essentially.
Yeah. You know, we're now not a rap film. I'll give it all the pros in the world. That's a very well written rap. I gotta say, I love the lyrics of it. It's smartly written. You know, we have some Marvel references in there. Again, it's kind of it's.
Now you see, if Lin-Manuel Miranda would have written a Marvel rap opera, you would have been all over it.
Well, again, if it was as well written as that, maybe. Okay. No, but seriously, I'm just saying we had Marvel references. We had, again, like the symbolism of the hood with the Trayvon Martin line, but of course visually represented very well all throughout. And we also, again, like Hero for Hire and the thing with Pops, so in the universe. So, yeah, it was a really well constructed.
Yeah, very much.
They're very well put together sequence.
Okay. Now, Dragon, let's get to the penultimate segment of our penultimate episode. It's time to connect the bullet holes. All right, so let's kind of put the cherry on top of our Method Man love, all right? Because you know who summons Method Man, essentially, who pops on screen for an awesome cameo, much, you know, like right before we get another awesome cameo.
Who?
We get Stan Lee in the window of the... I hope you know this.
I know this. I will, letting you.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's great. Now, Dragon, remind me. I'm pretty sure that Stan Lee in other Netflix shows has been on Wanted posters.
Well, no, it's the same. I'm hoping they pay this off in Defenders, because the idea in all the Netflix stuff, he is the same exact.
It's character. The same guy. Okay.
And it's always a poster for the he's like, I forget if he's how high on, I forget if he's a captain or not, but he was a police recruitment officer.
So he's basically like the police Uncle Sam. Yeah,
that's what he is. Yes, he's the guy who's like, he's either like a recruitment, or it's like, if you see something, say something.
Right, exactly.
Honestly, what it might be is like it's the same character, but I think one of them's like the poster's very like in the police station where Brett Mahoney in the 15th precinct, where we've gone in Jessica Jones and where we've gone in Daredevil. That's like he has like a medal of like a plaque on the wall where it's like Stanley's picture, and it's like again, he resides there. Right? He's the top dog around there.
Sure.
And on the street, when you see the poster, it's like it's a recruitment thing. Like here was like an Uncle Sam sort of thing.
Okay. Anyways,
that's the big one, sure. And here's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping we see him like actually physicalizing Defenders. That's what I'm hoping for. I want to be in the police uniform.
So yeah, I mean, there's just too much stuff to count in terms of like bookending stuff from the first few episodes in. Of course, we get the return to Pop's barber shop. Bobby Fish laying everything out. Turk Barrett is involved. Turk Barrett comes back from Hell's Kitchen to do business once again. Let me see. Just of course. I'm sorry. No, I'm jumping ahead to the next episode. My bad. Let me see. Oh, Dragon, here's one that I don't know if you're going to agree with on me, but this is just kind of on my mind since I've been watching Iron Fist, or I'm on the early Iron Fist episodes. To me, there was something very similar about the idea of, Diamondback offering Mariah the money to expand her club and expand Harlem's Paradise. It's vaguely similar to the way that Ward Meacham offers Colleen Wing money for her dojo in order to get her to sign that form about Danny being dangerous. So I don't know. That's just something I kind of tend to notice about Marvel Netflix villains, is that they tend to, use the idea of improving public space, and Kingpin obviously did it too. I mean, Kingpin loved Harlem himself, but that was still part of his weaponry. That was still an ace up his sleeve when it came to his campaign. So it's just kind of a reoccurring thing with these villains. I would say Purple Man is maybe the only villain who didn't necessarily use the surrounding to his advantage.
Well, he did have like a money thing though, where he used Jessica's home against her. So he purchased that land.
True. That's true. Yeah.
You don't want to look at it that way. And of course, like his it was always Jessica's mind, like that central location for Jessica. So it's kind of similar. They all have like their locations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you see what I mean, though. It's just a kind of a neat little connection. I would have never picked it up if I hadn't like imminently watched that episode of Iron Fist yesterday, but
sure. Let's see. So, here's something that's going to pay off. I have a point about it in the next episode. The Icarus speech, which, we have like an Icarus. Basically, we introduced the Icarus metaphor, and Diamondback in his suit will kind of be the Icarus, kind of the fake wings of it all here. It goes a little something like this.
I like you, Zip. You got ambition. It'll take you far. As long as you stay in your place. The first of the 48 laws of power. Never outshine the master. That was a mistake Shades made. He questioned me, he doubted me. He tried to reach too far. He was on some Icarus shit. Do you know what that is? Yeah. Diversification, right? No. Icarus was a boy who flew too close to the sun.
I love that Turk knows that. He's like, you felt so proud to share that.
But again, props to Kendrick Lamar. I think Kendrick Lamar is like by far the most talented rapper out there right now. So if you want to get into rap at all, if this Marvel rap is enticed you, I would recommend Kendrick. He's a good launching point.
Now, speaking of Kendrick, of course, Method Man, he's in this. Drops himself.
Yep, of course.
Okay, let's fast track a few of these here. So, of course, the kinetic Hammer Tech armor, that's going to pay off.
Definitely.
In the rap itself, we had Iron Man, Heroes for Hire drop twice.
Yeah, of course. And the whole idea of the Judas bullets kind of being widespread is sort of coming more and more into fruition.
Oh, yeah. Again, Defenders, possibly. Mm-hmm. Let's see. The Candace testifying against Mariah is supposed to lay low, and giving Misty giving her giving her a phone and a place to lay low, Claire's mom's house, and of course, importantly, Misty losing her phone in all the chaos of the barbershop.
Yep,
that's going to be important.
Oh yeah.
Turk coming back. Oh, the great Turk. Now here's the debate here: is if it's pre or post hand kidnapping from the end of Daredevil season 2. I think.
God.
Here's the thing. I think like the Marvel Cinematic Wikipedia is like the only time it's ever let me down like this. The only time is because I'm telling you, it makes more sense with all the timeline and everything if this is before the hand kidnapping.
I mean, for me, yeah, I would very much agree with you.
Because it doesn't make sense to think about it. You know, he's trying to think here. So yeah, okay, right. So after the beginning of Luke Cage, he goes back. He goes back to Harlem. Wait, I'm trying to think. Actually, wait a minute. No, I thought it was like after this dumpster thing, it could be that he. I could see it either way, I guess, but I don't know. I kind of like the original way. Where, you know, he goes here. Luke Cage puts him in a dumpster. He's then arrested, put under house arrest, and that's where we link up with him in Daredevil.
Fair enough.
Either or, I guess it's just points he has a bad experience. I like that it ties into Daredevil. This experience leads him. We explain how he goes place to place like that, I guess. Shades glasses, of course. You know,
of course. Oh yeah.
The redemption of the Shades. The Shades redemption. Alex is being mentored by Mariah, and that's going to come back in the next one. Mariah has the bottle. So that's going to come into play. She has the bottle that could link her to all the crimes.
Mm-hmm.
The file kind of went around the barbershop. The file is somewhere hidden in the barbershop.
Sure.
Let's see. Fish maintaining the shop. Diamondback enters the barbershop ready to fight Luke. Harlem's on Luke's side, but not all the cops. That's important. The cops are not on Luke's side. We're going to definitely explore that in the next one. Priscilla and Misty both trying to bring Mariah down using the system.
I like how Priscilla and Misty are finally on the same side, like conclusively.
Yes. Here's one last one I got. And this one's interesting. I never caught this until the rewatch, and it might be important for Luke Cage season 2. I don't know.
Okay.
So there's a character mentioned that no one can really find anything on. There's this character called Romeo. Now Romeo is
right. Just this mysterious
I looked into the guy. So if everyone's looked up, there's a character called Romeo. Yes, but it's an X-Men character. I'm talking about different. Oh
God.
That's what I'm saying.
Or it could be Romero from Mr. Robot.
Ha ha ha. Funny. but seriously though, so Romeo is one of two things, quite possibly both.
It could be Alex Romero.
Romeo.
All right, I'm done.
Anyway, so it could be Romeo is mentioned, but Shades mentions Romeo as the Turks. Romeo is a known entity in Harlem, in Old Harlem especially. Now, the idea I figure is that Romeo could be like how Rigoletto was to the Daredevil show, where he was the crime boss before the Kingpin took over. So Romeo could have been a name back in the day before he passed away. And another theory is that he could be based on Shades' last words to Zip. Romeo would be disappointed, and basically you'll see the implications. Romeo is dead. But regardless, it could be that Zip was Romeo's son.
I could see that.
And it could be both. That Zip's father was a big player back in the day, and that's why he got into it. So again, Romeo could be a Rigoletto-esque player.
I would cast Master P as Romeo simply because of the fact that Master P in real life, his son is Little Romeo.
Yes.
Because I wouldn't want to cast Little Romeo as this guy, but
that was on Nickelodeon, wasn't it? Or like Nick at Night?
Yes, it was Nickelodeon. Yes,
I remember that.
Oh,
all right. All right, that's all I got.
Okay, folks. So, without further ado, for the penultimate time this season, we're going to switch the open sign to closing time, Carl. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here, Carl. I know who I want to take me home, Carl. I know who I want to take me home. All right, I'm done. I'm just quoting the lyrics.
I knew you. Son of a.
But I was doing it in the Diamondback voice.
Darn it.
All right.
Darn you.
So yeah, Dragon, I gotta be honest with you. this isn't like a top 5 episode for me or anything
Really?
like that. Yeah, I mean, like, I think all the strength of the episode does kind of come from the Method Man stuff. That's definitely the highlight for me. I don't know, like, it's an effective penultimate episode in terms of putting the chess pieces into place, but I do think that that's really the bulk of what it is just a bunch of chess piece maneuvers. You know what I mean? It's a bunch of setting stuff up, which in its own way isn't bad. It's just, I think having this in between the great bottle episode and then the really explosive season finale, you know, it just kind of gets lost in the shuffle just a little bit. Not by no means not a bad episode at all, just, you know, not one of the standouts for me besides the Method Man stuff, but still very solid. That's all I got.
Oh yeah, I thought it was a great episode about Luke Cage. You know, where it's, you know, it's really about Luke Cage versus, you know, being Luke Cage, and I mean, he's in focus. So I'm saying it's like an episode not on Luke Cage's perspective, but, you know, everyone's perspective on Luke Cage. I think it's an excellent penultimate episode, and again, it's honestly, again, all the stuff I really love about Luke Cage is kind of like is in the episode through the Method Man stuff, and I think I really like on the rewatch kind of the Shades Mariah dynamic, and of course, I mean that the kind of the climax at the end is also really good. So on the whole, I'm liking, especially on the rewatch.
Okay, so folks, it's time to sweep up and sew the bullet holes till the final chapter on the journey. And in the immortal words of Henry Pop Hunter, the past is the past, and the only direction in life that matters is forward, never backwards.
Forward, always.
Your father